DW Africa Link.
The road to the 2026 FIFA World Cup is heating up, and African teams are leaving nothing to chance as they fight to secure their spots on the global stage. With expanded slots giving the continent more opportunities than ever, powerhouse nations and emerging teams alike are battling through the qualifiers, determined to make history. So how's it going so far? Are there any surprises? That's what's coming up. Stay tuned. My name is Josey Mahachi. Welcome to Africa Link, the podcast that connects you to the stories that matter from Africa.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
There are fierce battles going on in the CAF World Cup qualifiers as African teams fight for a coveted spot in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The expansion to 48 teams in 2026 offers several nations the historic opportunity to qualify for the first time. So, who's leading the charge? Which underdogs are shaking up the competition? And what challenges lie ahead for African teams on their quest for World Cup qualification? Joining me for this discussion is Annet Mugabo, a Rwandan-based sports journalist and commentator, as well as DW's Ololade Adewuyi from the sports desk.
Africa is changing. Don't get left behind. Tune in to Africa Link.
Let me start with you, Ololade. I mean, I know you've been following this every day, every hour, every minute. The last match was between your country and my country, Zimbabwe. But I'm just so happy that at least the Warriors of Zimbabwe did an amazing job. I mean, considering that they were playing with the Super Eagles. Let's talk about Nigeria. How is the country doing so far in the World Cup qualifiers, Ololade?
It's been a really tough World Cup qualifying campaign for Nigeria. The Super Eagles are stuck in fourth spot in Group C after 6 matches, and it is not looking like they would be able to reach the World Cup. It's shocking because Nigeria recently reached the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations in Abidjan, finished second, but now they can't even qualify for the World Cup. A second straight edition, it would seem. It seems that they would miss it. So it's really shocking. And it's really a sad time for Nigerian football and fans of Nigerian football. And I'm happy for Zimbabwe. The brave Warriors were really brave on the day, came to Uyo and snatched the point very late. And, those kind of points are heartbreaking, 90th minute. But they were brave. They managed the game very well, defended very well, composed, and when they needed to score, they took their chance and it paid off. So Zimbabwe can be very proud of their performance on that day.
Now, Annet, just to come to you, I know that your country, Rwanda, is not necessarily a football powerhouse, but I mean, you follow the game, obviously, as a sports journalist. What are Africa's chances at the 2026 World Cup?
As a Rwandan, I can say that I'm even impressed because you can't tell me that you will build a house from the rooftop. You just need to come from the foundation so that you can be able to build something if you really want to build a strong house, But when you look at the way we prepare our things, every single time you find, every time we start from the rooftop. And for me, I don't think that it will give us the opportunity to qualify for the World Cup or even for the Africa Cup of Nations, because as you know, the history of our country, we have since 2004, we have never been able to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. So if you say that Rwanda is aiming to qualify for the World Cup, I think I can say that you will be dreaming if that is the right.
Annet, come on, try and be positive.
Yeah, trust me, I'm just being honest, because if you see, we are in Group C, but if you see the only reason we got even these points, in my opinion, it's because the other teams like Nigeria, like South Africa, they made some mistakes, actually some terrible mistakes and that's when we got the points. But if you go to statistics and if you look at the facts as well, I don't think that we would even be where we are today.
Maybe you keep getting lucky and some teams also keep making mistakes. But Ololade, what do you think about the Rwandan team, as Annet is really saying that this can never happen?
I think Annet has been too humble for the Rwandans, because Rwanda started this World Cup qualifiers were in the same group, and they started really well. They're the only team that has defeated South Africa so far, and they showed that they've got it, and also Rwanda has played host to many of the World Cup qualifiers. I think Lesotho and Zimbabwe hosted their matches, played their home matches in Rwanda at the beginning of the qualifier. So Rwanda provided them facilities to host those games, So also you see that Rwanda were close to qualifying for the AFCON. Surprisingly, they beat Nigeria. They beat the Super Eagles in Uyo 2-1, very late goals. They won. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify because Benin drew away to Libya and took the second spot in that AFCON qualifying. So Rwanda is inching closer to being one of the big boys on the African continent. And I think with the facilities they are building, the league, things could really shape up eventually. So Annet and I think the Wasps could will do better, and I believe they've got a great future with proper planning. With the new coach Adel Amrouche, I think he's very experienced on the African continent, and I think he could really take far. They may not qualify for this World Cup because South Africa has that group on lockdown, but the next AFCON could be the next step for Rwanda if you can build patiently, I believe.
Right. And just to come to you also about Zimbabwe and Nigeria, your own opinion, early days yet, but after the two countries drew against each other, what are the chances of Nigeria, in your opinion, qualifying or missing out?
Now, Nigeria, I don't know, honestly, what happened to these guys. The way they started the campaign, honestly, it is not convincing. Yes, it's a country of football. They have so many great players and they can do something big. But I would say that I was so disappointed to see how they can be able to be challenged with all these small or underdog, if I may use that word, teams, and yet they have all the other players and they have good coach, because let us not forget that the current coach they have is the same coach who took Mali where they reached in the Africa Cup of Nations. But I think they have some internal problems which actually, in my opinion, causing the problems.
Ololade, Annet was just talking about your country, your team, the Super Eagles. Are there any internal issues or challenges that you are aware of?
Unfortunately, since 3 years, we've had problems. It's lots of changes in instability in the coaching department, and I just believe the indecision of the handlers of the national team. But also, I look at the final game, the last game against Zimbabwe. I look at the 10 minutes to the end of the game. Victor Osimhen came out injured, and instead of the coach bringing in a defender, you're leading 1-0. There was a second striker on the pitch. Why not just bring in a midfielder, a defensive midfielder, or a defender to just kill the game? 1-0. All you needed was 1-0. But he brought in another striker, Victor Boniface, and then we considered that last-minute beautiful goal to Tawanda Chiriani of Zimbabwe, which broke everybody's heart.
Let's just also hear from Annet. Annet, how would you assess the current form of the top CAF teams like Algeria, Morocco, and Ghana? We've spoken about Nigeria already.
When it comes to Ghana, I think they have shifted all the power. Now they are looking forward to see if they can perform well and see if they can go back to the World Cup. And also that one, it takes us to how players they have been playing, and also the performance of those players. As you know, when you look at Thomas Partey, usually he was refusing to come to the national team, but they failed to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. I think he has made up maybe his mind, and he's like, okay, now I'm going to fight for my country, because now I think they have what they are playing for. They know that they really want to go back to the World Cup. And when you look at Jordani Ayew, the way they have been performing, and also the young players like Mohamed Kudus and the other players, you can say that now they are doing a great job for their countries, and we just have to wait and see how the campaign will end for them. But if you look at the recently game they have been played, I'm so impressed, and you can tell that Ghana is just showing signs that they might go back to the World Cup. And when you go to Morocco, we don't have to forget that Morocco has been a great team, and they still have the same squad. They still have their coach, and also the way they play their things, you can tell that seriously they know what they want, and they know how they can get what they want. So I'm not surprised, and I don't think that we will be surprised if Morocco can be able to go back to World Cup, because even we do remember what they did 2022 in Qatar. They became the first team in Africa to reach in semi-finals. So I'm pretty sure, and I'm optimistic that they will do great. And also when you see how many points they have, you can just tell that it's a matter of the time, but I don't have any doubt about them. And also when you look at Algeria, they have been struggling since 2019. They have been struggling because the golden generation of their team has also, I may say that they became old, and they had also to build the other players so that they can be able to transform their team, and also to adapt for the new players, and also to insert the culture of the team or the country in those players. By now, when you look at them, I think they are in good lot when you see how they are doing their things.
And to just talk about the big African stars in Europe, do you think they are living up to expectation?
I think when it comes to World Cup qualifiers, I think it is a big deal to any players who have been called up for his country, because I think they know that it is a global tournament, and not only a global tournament, but that is the final, or that is the biggest stage every player can wish to play for. So I'm sure, and when you see these players, the way they have been playing in this campaign, you can say that they are fighting for their countries, but also they are fighting for themselves, to see that to show the world that they still have something to prove, or they still have something to offer to their countries, to their fans, to their families, to their careers as well.
But
if you look at Aubameyang, for instance, if you look at Pierre Aubameyang, or how he has been helping his team, if you look at Jordani Ayew, the one I was talking about, if you look at to Thomas Partey, if you look at to Vesa Abubakar from Cameroon, even though his team is struggling because federation, they don't need that coach, but players, they're like, we have to fight, we have to keep pushing. Trust me, they are just offering their best to see that they can save their teams and their funds as well.
Right. And Annet, before I hand over the mic to Ololade, based on what we've seen so far, are African teams ready for the World Cup?
Some teams, sure. Some teams are ready, and the others. If we look at Egypt, if we look at Morocco, South Africa, yes, but we don't even know yet, because there is some, something going on. Nigeria say that they did a mistake, not even to say that Nigerian, they did a mistake to play a player who had the yellow cards. Senegal, I might say yes, but they still have so many challenges and they still have to fight because they are in the between of Sudan and DRC. And DRC, they have a good one. Coach. Sebastien is a good coach who knows Africa, who has achieved everything in Africa, and also DRC, they have good players. Senegal now, they have problem. They lost, I used to say, the one and the only who helped them to win the Africa Cup of Nations, and also who helped them to reach in a 16 round, if I'm not mistaken, for the World Cup before they were eliminated by England. So I think they still have a long way to go, but also they have mature players, like experienced players, and also they still have new players, and also those players are good. So we just have to wait and see how they will manage the situation. And also if you Ghana, I think these days they mean business when you look the way they play and the way they do their things. I think they don't have any room to make any mistakes anymore. So I'm optimistic that we might see maybe many Africa teams qualify for the World Cup. And I'm sure that those biggest or those giant teams in Africa, we might see them represent the whole Africa again in 2026.
Right, Ololade, I'll throw the same question to you. Looking at what we are watching so far, do you think African teams are ready for the World Cup?
So Africa is going to have 9 teams at the World Cup for the first time, because the World Cup gets bigger to 48 teams at the next tournament in the US, Canada, and Mexico. 9 teams and potential 10th if we get through, if the final team gets through the playoffs, which is really difficult. But 9 teams gives Africa the opportunity to really do well and go further. You have to compare with the previous editions at Qatar, where Morocco reached the semifinals. It was the first time an African team had reached the semifinals. There were 5 African representatives. The tournament was 32. So with 9 teams, there's an opportunity for more of the best African or strongest African sides to play at the World Cup and to potentially get closer to the golden trophy. So I think, Morocco set the pace for us at Qatar with their unbelievable run to the semis. And with more teams, the potential is there to get closer and maybe to also get another team into the semi-final. Again, it'll be tough, but then where there's a will, there's a way.
Right. Let's touch a little bit on the coaches, the newly appointed African-born coaches, Ololade of Kenya, Benny McCarthy is from South Africa, Nigeria, Eric Chelle, Libya, Aliou Cisse, Rwanda, etc. What do you think about this?
This is a really good time that African-born coaches are being hired by other African teams. Most times we've had mostly Europeans taking charge and indigenous citizens of their country. But now African federations are looking outside of their own countries, but still staying within Africa and trusting African coaches with the jobs. So Kenya played 2 matches under Benny McCarthy. You have to also see, this is the first time he's had the players, and this is the problem for international coaches of countries. They only get to have players for a few days and before they play important matches. And so Kenya drew 3-3 in their first game, exciting game, but then lost at home 2-1 to Gabon, so we had 1 point out of 6 for Benny McCarthy, while Eric Chelle took 4 points, went to win away at Rwanda. Rwanda also hired an African coach in Adel Amrouche of Algeria, so Eric Chelle got 4 points from the round, 3 points against Rwanda and 1 against Zimbabwe. Aliou Cisse only got 1 point. He got 1 point and lost in the second game against Cameroon. 3-1, very big defeat in Yaoundé.
Let's talk about the African-born coaches. Your opinion on that?
We have a coach of Morocco, Rugari. We have Aliou Cisse. Those coaches actually prove that everything is possible as long as you believe in themselves and you just give them time to prepare and to build everything. And what you have to do is just to back them. The federations, the Ministry of Sports in any country, and you just have to believe in themselves, and also you give them what they need, what is necessary, so that they can be able to do their job.
Ololade and Annet, before I let you go, I need your opinion on this. How does the CAF World Cup qualifiers compare to other regional World Cup qualifiers like Asia or Europe?
We have to be happy that now we have 9.5 teams, who can be able to qualify or to represent the Africa in the World Cup. But also, even though we have that chance when you compare to other continents, I think it has to bring pressure as well, and also to give a lot of pressure on the CAF to see that they can be able to prepare everything, to put everything in the right place so that we can have good teams who can represent us. But also it's a challenge to our teams, our federations, our leadership, to see that they can do good things to their players and also to their coaches and the federations, so that we can be able to have our teams who can be able to compete.
I think the CAF qualifiers in terms of excitement has been top notch, and the top in terms of refereeing, officiating, it's been great. And we also saw that the AFCON refereeing in Africa has improved very much. So, and with the addition of the VAR for World Cup qualifiers, it's made things really good. My own beef with the African qualifiers is the fact that many countries have to play their matches away from their homeland because they don't have stadiums that are FIFA standard, which is a sad thing. African countries need to invest in the facilities, because what's the essence of playing a World Cup qualifier when your national team is not playing in front of your home fans? They are playing in Abidjan. Benin had to play South Africa in Abidjan. Many teams are playing in Morocco. It's just it's not good enough. So African countries need to improve on their facilities so that they can give their teams a chance to really play at home and have the home feeling and really attack. And I believe teams will do better if they are able to play at home in front of their home fans.
Annet Mugabo, a Rwandan-based sports journalist and commentator, and DW's Ololade Adewuyi from the sports desk. Many thanks for joining us.
Get the stories that are shaping the continent here on Africa Link.
And that's how we end this edition of Africa Link. Remember, you are not just a listener, but a part of our community, and your engagement can shape the direction of our discussions. We value your insights and encourage you to share your thoughts with us. You can find all of the Africa Link podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple, or wherever you get your podcast from. This episode was co-produced and edited by Eddie Micah Jr. My name is Josey Mahachi. Thanks for listening. Until the next one, it's bye for now.